Welcome back, and this is the second race of the Worlds and the final race of the second back-to-back weekend. It's been a logistical success. Some of the racing has been very good. We kind of set the bar very high with Maggiora. They were some fantastic races, but the news about the Ingram win in the Euros can't help but seep through to this round, as having celebrated on the podium, he is P5 on the grid and has to do it all again and has to knuckle down and focus to beat the other guys, including the privateer focus of Ryan Camish on the pole, having surreptitiously snuck into the top 10 with the final laps remaining. Jamie Webber on the front row. I think we know who's getting into the front or the first corner first. Adrian Michael Rees once again, and alongside me, having had to change his clothes, having Camish Ingram soaking with champagne for the race win, Michael Swinnerton.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I had to change from TV broadcaster clothes into team clothes, so got lucky there.
That wasn't by coincidence. Now, let's see what happens. It's let's cap this weekend off, shall we? There goes Webber. And there goes Fisichella as well, from P5 on the grid, or P6 on the grid rather. Already up to fourth. Camish still in second, but I think Fisichella is going to nab that particular group. Okay, maybe not. Kobayashi up to third, up to second. Hang on a minute, wait a minute. Kobayashi up to first.
Yeah, I think Webber just failed to get going coming out the first corner there, and Kobayashi had the momentum, nearly made it stick, but Webber's taken the lead back again. But this is the Kobayashi we saw back all the way back at Interlagos.
The reverse grid has no doubt helped, but the traffic jam through the Mercedes arena, very good look for the fans who've this is their reward, technically. Another lap more than the Euros to look forward to. But now the work has to be in earnest. Webber already in the lead, so that's a promising look for the Drivers' Championship on his behalf. Ingram still in fifth, Camish already down to sixth.
Possibly going to be seventh too.
Especially if by the form book. Is it going to happen? Yes, it is.
Yeah, and Dumas followed him through.
A reverse two for the price of one. How embarrassing. Dumas down the inside of the engine chicane, but Schneider's going to get that back, perhaps.
Literally jumped the car over the sausage curd. All four wheels are off the ground there. That's going to give some photographer a very, very good angle. A very, very good shot to sell later.
I think Schneider's trying to give Dumas the message you should have stuck with BMW, perhaps, but her personal gripe, not ours. Here comes one of the Golfs down the inside of Camish. The power down
with
again.
Head of steam. Are they going to go 3 wide into the hairpin again? Looks like it.
And a bump from was that Palou? Yes, it was. Wittmann also in close attendance.
Dumas and Suarez tried to squeeze the BMW, and that didn't go well because Dumas nearly got pit manoeuvred round and spun out in front. Well, nearly got spun out in front of all of them. That could have been a lot worse than it actually was. Thank God Schneider had the wherewithal to back out of that and just dab on the brakes, even if that did lose her a couple of spots.
So much for Camish on pole, already down to P10.
Yeah, he is being shuffled in a very, very bad way here. He's just, unfortunately, getting in the wrong, or being stuck in the wrong place at the wrong time. And nobody's giving him an inch.
The wrong place, the 3M Ford, the wrong time, the third season of the World Super Tourers. Let's put it that way.
I was going to say, we know he's quick and we know that car's quick because he proved it in race 1. Whilst, yeah, he went backwards a little bit in race 1.
Whoa, are we seeing was that Thompson then?
Yeah.
On the inside of Wittmann.
A classic around the outside slingshot move that we're seeing a lot of around the kink there. It's happening so much, it's almost getting boring. Almost.
Palou with a bit of a bite on the inside of Camish's Ford. On board with Wittmann. Sun beginning to set.
We'll see who gets the good line coming out the corner, and then who can send it down into turn 1.
Webber already with the fastest flying lap.
Matching Whitman's too, just sneaking under the 35s
almost.
and getting a 34.9.
Early days yet then. I think there's more to be had out of that. Would be interested to see if that's encroaching on a 32. I think the 33 is going to get beaten today.
Ooh.
Ingram with a bit of a bump on run on Duma. Didn't pick it up from you, did he?
If he did, it was accidental.
No comment.
But here comes Suarez giving it right back to the Mazda.
Oh,
and Duma follows through. That was an opportunistic little move.
Make your mind up, Duma.
He's going to shoulder barge the Golf now. Here comes Ingram back on the inside. Lads, sort it out. Are we going to see a slingshot move? I don't think Ingram's going to be the type to tap on the brakes.
Brave, be brave. Good.
There you go. Keeps it too wide with Suarez all the way up to the chicane. Who's going to be the braver on the brakes? Ingram.
Okay. Too late.
He tried. He went too deep into the corner. Got to cut the last bit, and he's going to lose a position because of it. Maybe more.
The momentum. There we go. I mean, that wasn't him lifting off just to say, okay, I made a mistake. I think the momentum had gone. Kamish back up to 8th.
Kamish managed to sneak past as well. Ingram's going to have to just regroup, regather, and get back on it again. He knows he's quicker than the cars in front of him.
And there's the rest of the field, front to back.
Well, Kamish is having a look at Duma. He's potentially going to send it in down the inside of turn 1, and here comes Palou.
Happened again. No, Kamish and Duma were in that sort of position in race 1. I think this is where the performance hierarchy, if ever there is such a thing, is starting to settle it back into the sort of positions it was for race 1, albeit you can see Ingram in 10th. I wonder if the win has either set in or he's just decided.
Oh, it will have at the very least given him some confidence, and he was already showing that he was good around this track. And it's, you know, you as a driver, you will find tracks that you just click with, that you can just instantly work out and can find, you know, time on every corner that nobody else can. And this might be that track for Ingram. Plus, that Euro win will have given him some confidence, because wins always do.
I think
especially when you're not used to them.
The concentration after a win and then straight into a second race elsewhere.
Yeah, potentially.
Especially the same venue. Salo up to second, by the way. We're not this. We missed that. Kobayashi down to 3rd. Skeller and Schneider having their battle again, but in the wrong place.
Yeah, the top 3 very comfortable with their podium positions at the moment, but Schneider's managed to work her way back up to 5th from her 2nd place finish in race 1, and those are windscreen wipers going.
Okay, this I mean, I wasn't even paying attention to this. I mean, perhaps I should have looked at the weather radar. Now then,
that is raining.
Then.
That is now solidly raining. That's come on very quickly. Well, we'll see what happens. Did you have
any of this? I mean, obviously this is your team. Did you have any weather radar to look at before the race? I thought, hang on a minute, we might need to.
I'll be honest,
here.
I didn't. I know the race engineers have, and I know they've got contingency plans just in case, as we see Ingram now fighting with E-Day for a top 10 spot.
E-Day in this weather, I wonder.
I mean, that rear-wheel drive Toyota's a tail-happy thing at the best of times. Ingram just slides off the road. Those slick tyres are not going to be helping in this weather, but you can see everyone else dancing around and having to tiptoe their way through corners.
Well, that's definite spray, and that's definite over understeer.
Yeah, we're going to have to pit for some intermediates at the very least here.
I'm surprised that, we'll have to ask this later in the race. Oh, there's offs. We can see there's loads of cars off.
Oh my lord!
Now this might just be dangerous if cars are charging in here. And only yellow flags being waved.
It's a ballet. It's not a nice one.
That's not a good look for the championship if we're going to end up.
Well,
they are going.
Flash downpour. Immediately sodden track on slick tyres. That was unavoidable.
Everybody's in.
And we're all going to have to come in. There's no one's going to be able to survive on this, even if it is just a flash in the pan and it dries up again before this race is done. There's no way you could survive on slicks for now. Everyone is going to have to come in for intermediates at the very least. I don't see anyone going on full wets. Although, having said that, that's exactly what Webber's just done, so I'll shut up.
Well, we'll see that there is someone at the end of the pit lane who can clock what tyres there are, so this is going to be interesting, because if it's going to be like this for inters or so,
there we go. So we are seeing a split in strategies and thought processes here. Obviously, this is not something we normally do as a team, is pit stops, so you won't see, you know, full-on F1 levels or WEC levels of training here. Yeah, it seems to be a fairly even... Well, no, not an even split. A 60-40 split. Most cars going on full wets with a few trying the inters.
Sharing the forward input. The Wickens forward as well on the Wittmann and Alpha and the inters as well. Now, I reckon what we're going to see here is those on wets are going to start to pull away more from the inters, who are still going to have some level of grip issue. But there's going to be some point later in the race where if it dries up, then the
wets will shred very quickly if it dries.
Are going to be going on to either dries or inters, whereas the inters might not even need to pit at all. Kobayashi still in second. I wonder if he's got a depth for these conditions coming out of Japan. Salo,
well, I mean, Salo's got rallycross background, so we know he's good with low grip conditions. It just depends on whether the car's going to behave and what the setup is like on it.
So Webber definitely with the fastest lap locked in. Yes, we're not going to see that being broken at all if this is what the grip's going to look like from here to 8 laps from now.
Yeah. Now, here's another question, is are people going to try the round the outside slingshot at the kink move in the wet? Not this time, it seems.
Not but there. We need to see a cluster. I think we're seeing too many gaps there.
Yeah.
Lama's
this
P10.
Is the unfortunate thing about a very quick pit stop. Ingram nearly went off the road then. Had a bit of a slide on the kick there and nearly went wide. But yeah, pit stops do tend to spread the field out a little bit. So we're going to see smaller, more pocketed battles between 1 or 2 cars, or 2 or 3 cars, rather than the large amounts of different cars tripping over each other to try and get a go at the one in front.
I'm surprised we didn't see this coming, in fairness. At least the teams were on the ball in the pit lane. They were ready and prepared once they saw like that decision had to be made. But it does tend to stop raining very quickly around here. Thankfully, we're not using the full layout. That would have been mayhem. The Nordschleifer I'm referring to. But
well, yeah, getting caught out on the Nordschleifer with slick tyres in the middle of this lot.
That's
people would have been tiptoeing home at 2 miles an hour, and yeah, that.
If it was a 3-lapper, 2-lapper,
a red flag, yeah.
So we've got Webber leading. We're on the sides of Palou and Butcher with Ingram not getting really close. Okay, we just saw how much Ingram had to brake and didn't really take the line that he wanted to take, dry or wet.
There's Palou going deep into a corner and losing grip, though Butcher lost grip on the exit of the corner, so it all evens out again.
It's starting to pack up a little by the looks of it. I mean, there's still a crocodile. It is a bit more spread out, like you mentioned.
And despite the rain, we're already seeing I wouldn't call it a dry line, but there is a racing line at the very least forming in the track there. You can see the darker line. Ooh, Butcher with a little bit of oversteer. I think that was controlled. I think that was intentional. Trying to get the car to rotate.
In that shot were intent on coming in. So
no, it's still raining. It's still wet. It's not a dry line, it's just a racing line.
Visible. Camish down the inside of Fisichella.
We'll come to a standstill.
Momentum. We saw that in the Euros. And I suppose this is a bit more of a one-up on the Maggio race where it was completely dry.
Yes.
This has had everything
I
this
mean, how
weekend.
often do you get a wet race in Italy? Not very.
Indeed. Top 5 still being spread. Schneider and Suarez there, still very close.
Yeah, it'll depend on the setups that these cars have on, because whilst I don't think any of them set up for the wet conditions, other differences in opinion on dry setups will have differences in effect in the rain conditions here. So someone with like a very low downforce trimmed out setup is going to struggle massively compared to someone that's cranked a load of wing on.
Suarez now closing in on Sarlo. I think this is where the grip is going to be self-evident. Sarlo on the inters, as we know. Suarez on the full wet, so there's clearly still a bit of a difference in the grip performance and perhaps the tyre performance as well. Last half of the race to go.
Even Stevens down the straight between these two, though they're getting on the brakes very, very early now. Suarez still trying to stick his nose up the inside, gets into the quarter panel of Sarlo. Don't think that was intentional, but still won't help.
I'm spotting Pitters further back. I wonder if this is the wets for Inters guys at the back of the pack there. So obviously these are going to be paying the gamble on if they are going to be actually going for dry setup tyres, just in case they can steal a march on the guys in front when they have to turn in for slicks as well.
Out.
So they are now out of the pits.
Despite the fact it is now no longer raining and you can see there is no longer spray being kicked up behind these cars, apart from in little puddles there. I would wager this track is still too wet for dry tyres. I wouldn't want to come in for dries just yet. I'd want that line to bed itself in a little bit more.
Either
Because
way,
the last thing you want is to get offline on a set of slicks on a track like this, and you will end up so far in the grass.
Well, Webber is still safe out in front. I would like to see how this tail end pack, having us pitted, how were they behaving through Michelin and Vorsteiner? So it's the two. Looks like you got the two Renaults there and Thompson. I think they had kind of Renault perhaps had no choice but to perform that just to try and save face.
Worth the gamble to try and get something done, yes.
So it was just 3 cars then. I thought there was 4. Rydell, Tamiya, Honda, now pitting. So we'll see what they're going to do. Obviously, it's puddles in the pit lane. Dry, some semblance of sunlight peeking through the clouds.
I would say this is intermediate weather, but we'll see what the HUD on the left-hand side of the screen there says.
The official at the end of the pit lane will trigger that particular
intermediates. So they're staying on wet tyres ultimately, wet weather tyres. That is the smart call. Oh, Kobayashi with a little bit of out oversteer again.
Now that's the wet starting to shred. So Sarlo's getting for a good position, I think. Let's just hope that if there's enough of a gap for, well, if there's less of a gap for Webber to come back out on Inters, that Sarlo could, in effect,
leapfrog
win
everybody.
This race, fingers crossed. Kobayashi through the chicane. Is the grip going to be gone? The performance was still there, kind of, but still
staying out. I don't see an indicator on.
Conceding position. That is definite sunlight from the Nordschleife side of the circuit there. Karmish still in the top 10, despite the almost capitulating. He's managed to save some face there.
I think the rain helped him luck out a little bit. He was able to capitalise where a few other cars were struggling and slid off the road in front of him.
see what they've handled like through this hairpin. Not too far off their dry performance there if they've all got wets on. Wittmann
down to 15th after winning race 1. Whereas Camish has gotten lucky with the rain, Whitman really hasn't.
Now Ingram in 16th, still safe considering some fresh runners on fresh tyres behind him, starting to close up. They are entering the Mercedes arena, blinded by the light. So what's Webber going to do here? I wonder. Enough of a gap to get a very well-drilled BMW team, or in this case not.
Webber's got the car working well, and lap times you can't really tell because it's so all over the place with the pit stops and whatnot. But only 3 laps to go. I'd say Webber should stay out and try and make the tyres work, especially if Kobayashi's going to hold up 3rd on back, and he's clearly not catching the BMW in front of him.
That's why I was thinking the pit stop could be on, because there's enough of a gap being formed by this particular cork in the gift bottle size crocodile metaphors. Camish still 7th with Fisichella still in front, but they're closer than they were last time. Camish is going to get some wet tyre grip
going to try and drive
offline.
Try and make a dive down the inside. He doesn't. He's earlier on the brakes than Fisichella is. It's still quite wet at the apex of the corner there.
Yeah, so Slick's still off the table for the time being, but those on wets are starting to sort of punch back up again, except for Webber, of course.
That dry line is now becoming more and more dry.
And this is the closing stage of the race now, so any pit stops now, it's just fool's errand, I reckon.
I think the only way you can make a pit stop work at this point is if you're far enough in the front part of the grid and you want to make that gamble and go on to full slicks.
The top 4 didn't, the top 5 didn't.
Try and work your way through the grid with the upgraded grip. But as I said, if you get offline in slick tyres in conditions like this, you will end up off the road. It's now become basically a single lane track, he says, as Salo goes down the inside of Kobayashi, makes it stick and pulls it off.
The right choice on Inters and up to 2nd, even if there was a puddle on the inside of turn 1.
The question is, can Salo make any ground on Webber? I don't think he's going to catch him in the 1.5 laps left, but it'll be interesting to see how much of that gap he can bring down now that he's free of Kobayashi.
He's already making that. You can see he's already made a decent level of space on the track map, if not on the exit of the link road there. He said that though, looking at the map as well. Camish and Palou, 7th and 8th, being held up by the Fisichella Alpha.
Championship-wise, this is not what Fisichella needs. 6th is a decent place for points normally, but when your main championship rival is leading, 6th is not going to cut it, especially this late into the season. Fisichella does not want to be back here fending off a pair of Fords.
Webber has triggered the last lap.
And Salo's pitted.
Salo is in.
Salo is going to try for the gamble. That's an interesting idea. As is Schneider.
I just saw Schneider. We saw Salo. I think we saw the 3M Ford as well, unless that was being... There we are.
Yeah, Camish and Palou. There's a few of them trying this gamble, as is Wirtz, as is Wickens.
This is too late. I think this is too late. This is a fool's errand.
This gamble just became very, very interesting, as is Whitman. This gamble became incredibly interesting with this many people trying it. They're all going to be tripping over each other trying to get the run on the cars on the wet tires still.
Championship on the line. Fisichella in the pit lane.
Thompson, Aiello, so the three that pitted before are going to pit again.
Weber is going to win this race before the guys that pitted on Inters have come in as well. This has
Yeah, they're
been a
going for
very
dry, so
bizarre
they're
one
going for the
indeed.
dry tyre gamble. But as Murray Walker would used to say in these situations, Jamie Webber could quite literally get out and push it home and he'd still win the race.
It's been done
Or at
before.
the very least, do some victory donuts at the Coca-Cola curve.
And that was an easy one for Webber despite the elements. Webber with his second win of the season and looking good for Japan. Plenty of a gap to Fisichella, who is still fourth, coming out of the chicane right now behind Kobayashi and Suarez. Kobayashi with another fantastic run. He's won already this season in the privateer outfit. Tamiya taking second in the privateer team championship. Suarez making Volkswagen very happy. Fisichella, though, you'd think there's points on the line here. Didn't need to pit. I don't think he needed to pit to cross the line. There, the hiccups of all the excitement. Salo across the line in ninth. Top 10 finish for Snyder. Kamish eventually getting forced out of the top 10 by the end of the race. Palou closing in. Ingram was 16th, but 2 places ahead now. Vickens' final point of the race. Webber with the 2 points for the fastest lap. As that was just bizarre. I mean, we've had the entertainment, and I think bizarre can be entertaining, but I think that was a little too much. But it's making Webber's case for the championship look even better. Let's just see what happens when they head to Fuji, I wonder. What was it for you there, Swin?
That was interesting. The flash shower there really threw up the order. I mean, for example, look at Toyota. They would have never gotten that finish had it not been for the rain.
Certainly. And that still means that despite Ford's better performances this weekend, Renault are still struggling. So Toyota are still 5th in that particular championship. Alpha's late surge in the championship means they are 69 points behind BMW as a manufacturer team in the championship. Honda still capping up the top 3. Apart from that magic phrase that pays, if anything really silly happens, I think. I mean, I don't want to hedge my bets on this. We obviously need to see what happens at Fuji. The privateer championship for both the driver and the team is looking very promising indeed there, Swinny.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to sound like a broken record and just repeat myself because it really does. It is the secret ingredient of consistency pays off. Look at Ingram's results over the whole of this season. It's just been consistent, which is exactly what we were going for.
This
weekend,
no
a
doubt,
little bit of an anomaly with the rain. That definitely threw a spanner in our consistency works, considering 6th in race 1 and then 14th in race 2.
And I think that is capping off a very successful weekend once more. It just depends if there are more of these when there are European rounds in the World Supers for Season 4 and for Season 2 of the Euros. Yeah, I think that's all we need for the time being, Swinny. Unless there was more news from the paddock there.
Not currently. We'll see what happens when we get to the final round at Fuji. And I've heard at Fuji there's going to be a nice big demo stand of Volvo showing off their new car. So we've got that to look forward to.
if a little out of place. I mean, Volvo, I don't think they really do sell in Japan, but maybe that's what they're aiming for.
I've heard there's
Uh,
a bit of a cult following for old Volvos. Like, the car people out there really like their 240s.
and we've seen a few of them in the car park as well. Nice and wooden.
Yes.
And yes, we'll see what it's like in the pit lane in Fuji as a compare and contrast. So for the time being, good Abend and good racing, everyone.